Today's video is sponsored by MinerPool.Pro. Out with the old, in with the new. MinerPool.org is now MinerPool.Pro. With the new name comes a new mining pool. MinerPool.Pro is excited to announce the launch of their brand new pool for Meowcoin. With Stratum support for Asia, Europe, US East, and finally US West servers. Finally, we can't forget about the new loyalty program by MinerPool.Pro to earn additional Meowcoin for your uptime. Go check out MinerPool.Pro's new Meowcoin pool today. What's up, guys? Before we jump into today's video, I want to give you a quick heads up or disclaimer. The guest that we had on today had some amazing information. I learned a ton, but the downside is their audio and video isn't exactly the best. So please hang in there. You will learn a lot from this video, and I'm so glad that I was able to go ahead and connect and bring them on the channel so that you guys can learn a thing or two just like me. Enjoy. What is going on, miners, and welcome back to the Hobbyist Miner channel. Well, here we are with a great topic today, and I've gone ahead and invited Andrew from the development team over at Meowcoin. Welcome, Andrew.
How you going, guys?
So today we have a great topic, guys. We're going to talk about kind of some of the intricacies and kind of the background of kind of starting up a cryptocurrency. And with Meowcoin just hitting the scene within the last few months, I was like, oh, perfect opportunity. So Andrew's joining us all the way from Australia here. So Andrew, you ready to get into some questions on your journey?
Absolutely, 100%.
All right, so let's jump into it a little bit here. So I think it's funny, like Meowcoin, you know, let's kind of go back a little bit. I assume Meowcoin wasn't always called Meowcoin. I assume you had a few different renditions in there. Can you give us some of those and kind of how that came to light?
That very good one. We went with lolcat as one of the initial ideas because we thought, why don't we just make it a little bit funny?
Yeah.
We sort of had paw print as an idea, but we felt like that didn't quite pick up on the idea of what we were trying to do. You know, paw prints, cats, close but not quite there. The other one that kind of sold us on it was when we were talking about obviously the name. I was scrolling through some digital artists and I came across a guy that I know who had done the Calico cat that sort of is our icon, and I looked at it and went, yeah, that looks pretty cool. And it just sort of dawned on me. I went, yeah, why don't we have a look? And it's funny, right? Because basically every crypto name under the sun has been taken. So there's actually a double up that we didn't anticipate. And we went with Meowcoin anyway. But yeah, we've sort of had to work to make sure that we always say, yeah, we're this Meowcoin, not the proof of stake one that sort of was about 2 years old that hasn't done anything since. So.
I'll be honest with you. When I first started looking into Meowcoin, I went to Google, typed in Meowcoin, came across this website, and was like, wait, I have to send them? Like, what? How's this? Like, this isn't, this isn't proof of work mining. Like, how does this work? Like, I send you, and then you send me back. Like, and then I was like, I think I'm on the wrong site. So even I fell for it, like 100%, where I was just like, this definitely isn't right. So I'm glad you mentioned that, because like, it definitely, I think, happened. So what we're going to do is we're kind of going to talk about concept to reality. So with cryptocurrency and like setting up a cryptocurrency for the very first time, how did you guys go from concept originally? Like, where did this start? Like, I don't wake up one day and go, I want to start my own cryptocurrency. So like, how did this happen for you guys?
A lot of it came because of the Ethereum merge. So we knew that there was this huge sort of change in the ecosystem that was coming. And initially what we were thinking of doing was starting a mining pool, which in reality probably would have been a lot easier to do. A lot less work. But we were sort of thinking through that there's an existential issue for miners where there's going to be a huge amount of crush on the existing coins. And how do we actually play a role in maybe opening that up a little bit for the miner? So that was sort of the existential question which we were asking ourselves of, how do we as sort of miners get back into the ecosystem and come up with an idea? And that was the initial concept right there. The actual naming of it was really consequential, I suppose, to, we went, okay, you could start a chain, but what is the chain supposed to do? What
Yeah.
are we actually trying to achieve with that? And we realized that a lot of the ideas that we were initially having were something that could be achieved through dev work on existing chains. And to some extent, all coins can, all coins are an iteration in one sense of Bitcoin. There's other technical details, but they're all about trading and creating utility, right? So what we wanted to do was have a key aspect to our chain that is really unique to us, that we could sort of get behind and put forward as the, I suppose, the shining light of what we're trying to attempt to do. And that was essentially the donation element to it. So my partner and I, Mansa, he had a cat, and we would often talk and chat over Discord. And we just happened to be sort of talking and started to talk about our cats because mine was doing something really weird. It, for lack of a better word, it basically does spirals and then jumps. And then I was sort of sitting in the back room and watched it do that and said, hey, my cat's done that again. And we just started to talk about cats, and I learned that his cat was a rescue cat and my cat was a rescue cat, both from the streets. And we were sort of thinking about how there's so many animals floating around at the moment that aren't having any help sort of offered to them. And of course, what's one of the major rules of the internet? One of the key things that's on YouTube is 20% of YouTube consumption is cat videos.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
I thought, why don't we see if we could do something for cats? And that evolved into, what if we had a chain which donated some of the block reward to actually animal shelters and doing things like that? And as we developed that idea, we saw that there was a crypto donation, basically a facility on a lot of chains called the Giving Block. And we thought, hang on, we could donate via the Giving Block through crypto, right? Which means that we can all stay anonymous, although technically I can stay anonymous, but everyone else can stay anonymous. And we can do something really good for people and let miners know that if they're on our chain, part of that being on that chain is they're participating in us being able to do that. And that really was, I suppose, what we thought was the core genesis of the idea, where we went, that's something people would want to be a part of, we think. Miners are lovable people, they want to help people. So if they know that there's a financial incentive for animals involved in our blockchain, they'd sort of think that would be something that they'd enjoy participating in.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, no, that definitely makes sense. I mean, I have heard many times that the most successful, like when cryptos are getting started, the goal around the successful ones are they're trying to solve like a problem. Like that's always like when a cryptocurrency is getting started, that's kind of like where the goal really should lie and what should happen. And that a lot of those still exist today, but a lot of these cryptocurrencies that come up as meme coins, they just kind of come and go. Because they don't serve a purpose. They're just another crypto out there, and what makes it different. And so it is unique to hear that like that was your guys' goal all along, was some type of giving back in one avenue or another in order to help with such whatever the world problem is, big or small. And this avenue was, animals for you guys, which is, I think, awesome. And I'm really happy to hear that. So you have this idea to create a cryptocurrency that provides funds to animals in need. Great. That sounds awesome. How do you get started? Like, it's not like you just go on. I mean, is there a make your own cryptocurrency for dummies book, out there that you just go ahead and go with? Or like, where do you get started with such a thing? So give us kind of the rundown.
So that's a really intriguing question, because neither Mansa or myself are coders per se. We have an appreciation of code. We get a little bit more probably than your standard person when it comes to the technical side of things, but we are not coders. He and I both have day jobs that are not involved in coding.
Yeah.
And we kind of got to that point where we went, how do we do this without going through the process of taking a course and learning something? Right.
Sure.
We know that obviously there's a lot of devs out there who are looking for work. There are a lot of devs who are interested in actually engaging. So we sort of thought, well, why don't we talk to one and see if they could use some extra cash and they can help us to go on the journey. So we reached out on Upwork and basically said, hey, surveyed a few people. We found one that we thought fit our team, so to speak. And he's kind of gone along on that journey with us now. So he's doing a fair bit of dev work for us ongoing. So he's currently building out the remaining parts of our NFT marketplace, which is launching probably in a week or two, which is really exciting for us. So we're hoping to continue that long-term relationship with him. So we basically then sat down with him and said, look, this is what we want to do. We have a roadmap that looks like this. We want to obviously support you financially to do this. So payment of devs is important. A lot of devs do work for free. We want to make sure that we pay up and do the right thing.
Sure.
And then what has happened since then, interestingly, is once we sort of spun it up and we got it started, all of a sudden all these devs come out of the blue in the Discord and they're like, hey, we can help, we can do this and we can do that. And we're like, brilliant. Come and join.
It's a lot of grassroots too. Like that. Yeah, that's the nice thing is it's a lot of grassroots. Like you kind of got the launching pad, but then all of a sudden you have community members from the grassroots side that want to jump in to lend a helping hand, which is, I think, awesome. Like that's phenomenal to hear. So what made you guys go with the algorithm of 𝐾𝐽? And what made you go the proof of work route, which I'm not arguing with. I love it. It's a GPU miner. But what pushed you guys to go that avenue?
We're both miners, and we both know that GPU mining is in a period of transition, and there are a lot of GPU miners. We believe in GPU mining. We believe in the concept of anyone with a computer or a GPU can sit down and hook up to a mining pool and participate in decentralization firstly, but also participate in what the project is attempting to achieve. And we wanted to make sure that we could make that process last for as long as possible. And that was the reason why we went with 𝐾𝐽. So we knew that 𝐾𝐽 was such a brilliantly crafted algorithm from the 𝐿 girl, and we really wanted to use that with what we were doing. So that was the primary reason. We're very much about miners being able to mine and not have ASICs overcome the chain. And that's not to say we're against ASICs at all. We know that they serve a role and there's a purpose to them, but we wanted to build something specifically for miners.
Okay, fantastic. Hey, I can't argue with that as a GPU miner at all. So as you're setting up this new cryptocurrency, you selected your algorithm, 𝐾𝐽 you wanted to go with. Let's talk about wallets, because I think right now that's even a big pressing thing right now. So you guys currently operate on a core wallet, is the way that avenue goes. What was the decision behind that? Was it just because all the kind of template cookie cutter items were in place? I know a lot of core wallets do add some security as well. Kind of give me the rundown as to what led you guys to that decision.
So we know that core wallets are a really critical part of blockchain from the perspective of they offer a lot of utility, and they're probably the most built for fit to the blockchain that we were using. So we wanted to ensure that we utilize something straight off the bat that people were coming from, let's just say, Ravencoin or Meowcoin or any of the other 𝐾𝐽 forks, they could use that wallet. So that was primary number one, was usability. Yes, it is a little bit clunkier than other wallets. We understand that, but it does have that usability and transferability of understanding. We started there. We've actually got Beehive Wallet, who have come on board. So they're a web-based wallet, multi-chain, multi-coin wallet, which is great. And we are currently working on a web wallet and an Android wallet with one of our devs, Psychedelic. It's been a little bit longer coming just due to the fact that there's been a whole bunch of dev work that we've had to do to get a web wallet to be functional with us. So that's sort of on us, I guess. We probably had the wrong timelines on our end, and that's one of the things that we're learning. But we do know that that's coming. We're currently having a discussion with a couple of other wallet providers. I won't name names. Two of them are looking very promising. and that's fantastic. One of them will be an iOS-based wallet, and one of them will be, I suppose you'd say, a multi-platform wallet, which is fantastic.
Yeah.
We're really excited about that. The third is still we're negotiating with, shall we say. It's always a process, but we've got something coming, we think, there at some point.
That's awesome. Yeah, I think a lot of us see like a core wallet as like that spec coin that just launches. Like the core wallet's like the easy entry. I mean, I got a Hyper-V host with a whole bunch of different core wallets separated on different VMs on there, and I totally understand. They're kind of your step into it. I think what has worked really well for your team is like you stepped in the space, you took off, which congratulations of that, and now it's like, okay, what next? I mean, you guys could have hoped and dreamed that things would have continued and the project wouldn't have folded quickly, and it didn't, and it worked out well for you guys. So I'm thrilled to see that you guys are like, all right, and now I want to give the community options. I think that's what we really like, is like, let us choose how we want to store our crypto versus being forced into, here, core wallet, and that's it. So kudos to you guys in that regard. So you got this cryptocurrency set up, you got the wallet all put together. Tell us about getting on exchanges, because every development team I have talked to has said if you're not coming from big money and you're not throwing it around, that getting on an exchange, some of your larger exchanges especially, is a nightmare. Give us your perspective on your experience with Meowcoin and exchanges.
So this is a really timely question. So thank you for asking it, because I think personally, this is probably one of the biggest black boxes in crypto that people who aren't involved in this side of things don't understand, and nor should they, because they're not involved in doing it, right?
Yeah.
We were very fortunate that we had a couple of ins with a few different exchanges straight off the bat. So 𝐋𝐵ITRON graciously pulled us on board quite quickly, and we're very grateful to the team there. We had Bittorium basically pull us in straight away, which was fantastic. We were very grateful for them too. We had TXBit, which we did a little bit of crowdfunding for. Again, they came on board with us quite early. So we, off the bat, paid a small amount of money to get onto these exchanges, some of it out of Manta's and my own pocket, because we believe that we should be trying as much as possible to shoulder the responsibility of that financial burden. We don't want to place that on the community. The community was very helpful with getting 𝐿𝐴𝐼𝐻𝑃X off the bat, which was fantastic. They supported us there, and that is what then led us to obviously 𝐻𝐻𝐿𝐴𝐼𝐻, because 𝐿𝐴𝐼𝐻𝑃X is one of the supported exchanges there. But I suppose you would say my initial thought process was there were three tiers of exchange. So sort of a tier one was that Binance sort of level of exchange. Tier two was sort of that 𝐋𝐨𝐨𝐤𝐢𝐳 and other exchanges, and then you had sort of a tier three, which were the 𝐋𝐵ITRONs and 𝐿𝐴𝐼𝐻s. Turns out there's four tiers. The ecosystem, so to speak, and we don't necessarily agree or disagree with the classifications, but I sort of see the exchanges that we're on at the moment as sort of tier four, which are cheaper, easier to access exchanges. Fair enough. And there's tier three, which is sort of looking at your Bitmart, your 𝐋𝐶 style of exchange, and then tier two is looking at 𝐾𝐜𝐴𝐻.io, KuCoin, things of that nature. Tier one obviously was reserved for Kraken, Coinbase, Binance, and up until recently FTX. They were sort of considered to be the creme de la creme of exchanges. Now, what a lot of people don't understand is the expense getting onto an exchange is not just as quick cut as you pay a fee and then you get on, right? So most tier three exchanges are looking at somewhere around 30 to 35,000 USD once to start talking.
Right? And that's like tier three.
Marketing.
Got it. Okay.
That's exactly it. That's tier three. So we don't know what the really top tier ones are because we're not quite at that level.
Yeah, gotta climb that ladder.
Exchanges that we're talking, absolutely. Tiers that we're talking to are looking for about 30 to 35,000, and then they're looking for what's called market making. So this was actually something that I really, really want other miners to understand and be aware of. Market making is something where you have a external party who have API plugs into an exchange will come in, and they will use a bucket of money to basically play the spread. That helps obviously because it starts to keep the coin price more stable. You won't see those wild swings. It increases your liquidity, which is obviously great for everyone. People can buy and sell without massive damage to the coin price. The difference is that you need to obviously pay for that market making service, and you've got to front the liquidity on both sides of your pair to actually proceed. That again comes in at about anywhere between $35,000 to $60,000 depending on the exchange. So all of a sudden, before you've even started, you're looking at 80 to 100,000 US before you're even able to proceed. That's a huge amount of money.
Yeah, no, definitely, especially when you're just a startup project, without a doubt. And I mean, I think that's the biggest challenge is it's interesting. So you have like something like Meowcoin. Like Meowcoin, I would not call a mainstream cryptocurrency. It's not like you go to a friend of yours who's outside the crypto space and you're like, hey, have you heard of Ethereum and heard of Bitcoin? Yeah. Have you heard of Meowcoin? Most likely they're going to say no. And so I totally understand that. And I think a lot of these larger exchanges too are going after transactions. So that's why you'll see these meme coins that blow up in social media like Shiba Inu and stuff like that. They like instantly are listed on these exchanges because those tier one exchanges are just looking to collect their transactions. They're like, okay, everyone's talking about this. I want to get on it. So they'll go ahead and add those onto those exchanges rather quickly because they want to be able to offer them up. That was the way I think Dogecoin was like when it popped off originally with everything. So no, it's really great to understand that because I think as miners, we instantly go to like, okay, why isn't it on the biggest exchanges? Like, I feel like that is the biggest question for new and early miners to get into because they want it on the largest exchanges to liquidate. Like that's the goal. Like, you know, maybe to purchase, but for miners, you're not, I mean, maybe right now you're purchasing a little bit more than you're mining based off of the current profitability metrics and such, which actually walks us right into a question I didn't prepare for, but I think is a great conversational piece is the fact of, so other cryptocurrencies, and I don't mind naming them, like Firo, for example, publicly made it known that they changed up some of their structuring because they were upset that miners were using them as a liquidation point. They'd mine Firo and liquidate, or mine Firo and flip to something else. Does something like that affect you guys at all? Like, is that a concern of yours, or it doesn't matter at the end of the day as long as decentralization still exists?
I would say that our biggest issue is not the mining and the selling. Our goal for our community is to build a coin and an ecosystem which is strong enough that miners actually can liquidate and keep themselves in a net positive capital situation. Okay. You can only do that if you have an ecosystem that supports selling, right? So that's part of it. The challenge that we found is sort of building out buy pressure. So one thing we've noticed is that certain pools are auto convert pools, which is fine, right? Yeah. Like that. This is part of the ecosystem. But to support their miners, those auto convert exchange pools will always be putting sell pressure onto the coin, right? So you see this gradual bleed for your coin in price, which is not ideal from I suppose you call it a PR perspective, because you want people to see the price go up. Everyone wants to see the number go up. The challenge is that until you provide an ecosystem that people want to buy in and purchase the coin, you can't balance that sell pressure out successfully, right? Which is why we're trying to do a number of things to create buy pressure. So NFT marketplace is one. We've got a retro arcade coming, which is another. And obviously building onto our, our roadmap by trying to do the tokenization. Sure. That will create natural buy pressure as obviously we get people adopting and using it now. We've got some progress there, which is fantastic. We've got a partner who's willing to investigate that with us at the moment, which is really, really lovely. We've just got to kind of sit down with them and work out some details. But building that buy pressure in for your average consumer and also your average miner offsets the sell pressure, and therefore the ecosystem rebalances a little bit more. I understand Zero has a perspective, I would probably respectfully disagree with that perspective by saying your network is secure because of the miners and it costs them electricity to mine. You need to be accepting of the fact that your ecosystem is going to sell. And if you don't want that, that's fine. Change to a proof of stake model, which is,
which is more friendly. More friendly to that mindset. So would something like, so Two Miners offers something like a great example. Two Miners offers the ability to mine Ergo, convert into Bitcoin. Is that something that would be of value to your team to be like, mine Meowcoin and the miner gets paid out in Bitcoin, because there are those transactions occurring? For those not familiar, like Two Miners, if you're listening, Two Miners actually utilizes KuCoin. I hope they put a backup exchange in place. There was a very big struggle with that for quite some time, where KuCoin had an issue on their back end with the conversion process, and so all these miners were waiting for payouts. So that aside, regardless, that's how they do it. Actually, Two Miners isn't like they're just passing it off to KuCoin. KuCoin flips it and then pays out the miner. Would that be of value to your team with that transactions occurring and activity on the network and everything like that? Or in the state that you're in right now, would that actually be more harmful than good?
It's a great question, because obviously transactions create what do you call it? Volume. So trade volume. And that is what a lot of people are interested in. And that way people can play the spread from a trading perspective. So in the ecosystem, would it be positive? I would say it would be a step forward in one sense. But again, we're continuing to have that sell pressure occur, where they're selling the coin, trading to Bitcoin, and then passing that back. So it's a double-edged sword in many senses. And that's why from our end, we have the ability to push into one or two exchanges relatively quickly. We're holding off on that because we believe that our development, our stage of life and what is required is development at this point to create buy pressure so that the ecosystem is as balanced as we can get it to be. And we understand that that's sometimes something which is less easy to grapple with because you're not involved in the finer details as a miner. And so this is why it's really good for us to be able to explain it, because I'm hoping that people can listen to this and go, oh, actually, that's why maybe they're not delaying, but just biding their time a little bit and going, let's get a couple more ducks in order in our own backyard, so that we can then put our best foot forward when we range on another exchange.
Yeah, that's definitely insightful. I mean, I think we see too many coins come to market and then rush, and then all of a sudden, like, it just like falls apart. So it's actually really good to hear that, like, you guys are trying to be a little more strategic. You're trying to control that flow nozzle a little bit better, which is, I think, a smart idea from a business sense. So last three questions for you guys a little bit. From concept to reality now, to give miners, because that's most of where my audience and demographic is, what has been the biggest struggle for your team? If you could say this was the number one thing that kept me up at night, what was it from concept to reality?
Good question. I think personally for us, and this might be different for other projects, but personally for us, it's being able to with clarity declare that we're not I was going to use a four-letter word there, but a coin that is pump and dump, if you know what I mean. I don't know what your bleeping button is like, but essentially we wanted to prove to people that we were a serious.
What he meant to say was that wasn't a shit coin, is what he meant to say. Let's be honest here. Come on, I don't edit things out here. This is all natural. So okay, so your biggest struggle was making sure that people didn't perceive you as a shit coin because of the sheer factor of just. I think it also comes with the name too. People instantly like, and I think unfortunately, I'm not shitting on the name. It's more the fact of like a lot of these meme names have been very popular in the last 12 months.
Yeah, and part of the decision to go with Meowcoin is, yes, there is that cutesiness to it, you know, and from a retail perspective, someone can look at that and go, oh, they're donating to animals, you know, when we get to that point where other people can look at us that aren't necessarily crypto natives, they could go, yeah, that's a great idea. I'm supportive of that idea. It's cute, you know, the logo looks cool.
Yeah.
So that's one part of it, and that was a marketing decision. But there's obviously the issues that come along with that, which is we get treated like a shitcoin. And I know that some of the chatter around the traps has been, you know, they're not Meowcoin, they're Litercoin, you know, and I get that, right? Everyone's going to have a stat. Proving to people that we're not a shitcoin has been a challenge that has kept me up, because I want miners to feel secure that we're here actually for a longer term. We're not here for you know, get in and get out. That's not the aim, right? I've put my face to this. You know, I'm working hard to do this. It may fail, you know, any project may fail, right? But I at least want to fail on my terms, which is I've gone out there and tried to make this as positive an experience as possible.
So this wasn't one of my last few questions, but I thought about it and I was like, I want to ask him about it. So more recently, you guys had a pretty big pump. Like, you guys peaked pretty high. What was that like as a developer to all of a sudden see a straight climb? Because, like, I remember seeing it, and also the second part of that question is, do you know was there any certain event that caused that to occur from your side of things?
Our listing on TradeOgre was very well received. So TradeOgre is one of those exchanges which a lot of miners know, love, trust. There's a certain affinity to it. We think that our listing on that prompted the climb. Waking up because of the time difference and everything like that, waking up and going, holy smokes, we pumped. You get delusional in a way. Like, it's just like, this is really happening.
Is it going to keep going
on? You know, we're going for 1 cent. You know, like, it's just all those amazing things. You know, now will be dollars. You know, it's amazing. Like, so you want that because you want all of those miners who trusted you and mined at the start to get their reward, right? Like, let's be real. Who doesn't want to? Who doesn't want to see lives changed? And if we can change people's lives with a pump where, you know, miners in other countries are able to improve their life, like, how satisfying is that? And to do that whilst helping animals is obviously a double bonus. So I suppose that was our first part. Was there a specific event? I just think it was the TradeOgre listing. People got excited. We were really, as a community, asking he who I affectionately called Mr. Ogre, can we please get on there? And he graciously put us on there, which was lovely. Awesome. And, you know,
Well, you're not wrong, definitely. I mean, I think I'll be honest. I did not build a bag of Meowcoin early. I saw a lot of other content creators talking about the crypto, and a lot of people really early on that were mining it, and I just I'll be honest, I was like, oh, this is another one of those spec coins. I'm not going to jump on that bandwagon. So I came into it late. I mean, granted, the coin is still super early, but late compared to these spec minings before you guys were even on exchanges or anything like that. So now I look back and I'm like, man, like, you know, and that's kind of the value of a lot of these speculative minings before they hit exchanges. The second they hit even these tier 4 or tier 3 exchanges, it definitely changes quite a bit. So it's really interesting to hear from that perspective. So last two questions. Looking back on your journey, is there any part of that where you look back and go, I wish I would have done this differently? From development to algorithms to exchanges to wallets to just anything, the naming, anything that you're like, yep, I should have done it this way, and if I could do a redo, I would have done it.
I think we got really nervous around decentralization really early. I think if we had a chance to engage with more pools earlier, I think that's what I would have tried to do. That's the one thing that always made me really nervous, was the potential for a 51% attack. And that's not to say that we're out of the woodwork on that. Like, any coin at this stage of their life is susceptible to it, but we're less susceptible now, and we've got a wonderful network of high quality pools that are supporting us. And we're really grateful for that. So that was the big thing for me, because you just know that the minute you get 51% attack,
Sure.
you can't escape that. Like it's a black mark against your name. So I think I would have rushed for that a little bit faster, just to have improved that. Like that's the one thing that I think I would have tried to do a bit earlier, was go for pools a bit quicker. So yeah.
I mean, the nice thing is, because it's the algorithm is 𝐾𝐽, it makes it very easy for these pools to adopt that if they're already within that nature with other coins, like Ravencoin or 𝐋𝐸 or any other 𝐾𝐽 based coins. So that does make it a little bit easier. It's not like they're setting up their pool from scratch, and that is available, which is good to know. So you had mentioned previously a few things coming down the pipeline. You mentioned an NFT marketplace. You mentioned an arcade system. Kind of give us the rundown. What should we expect within the next few months from the Meowcoin development team?
So we have our one of our devs is working on a lot of the development tools currently. So he's in the process of finalizing that. He's sort of committed to later this week to have a web wallet available for everyone, which would be fantastic. And then we're going to build an Android wallet, which has to go through a slightly different process and go up onto the Google Store. But our hope is to have that out as soon as possible this week, which we're really, really excited about. We think that that's a great option to allow people to enter into space a bit easier. So a retail investor doesn't necessarily want to have a core wallet. Totally understand that. So being able to facilitate that is a big part, and being able to have mobile wallets, again, the same thing. The retail investor is more interested in how easy is it to buy and store, not the technology, and that's totally okay. So we have that coming. We have our arcade coming very soon. So one of our team members or community members has built out this wonderful retro 80s car arcade, which
that's
played
cool.
a couple of the games. I'm very addicted to a couple of them already. They're all themed in the Meowcoin sort of library, so to speak.
Got it.
And that's really, really cool. So we're excited for that.
So I'm curious on that one. You don't have to give me all the details, but I'm curious on that one. Is like, with that retro arcade, you had talked a lot about like use cases for Meowcoin, like NFT. You actually have a purpose for it, like spending your. I assume in the arcade you're spending Meowcoin. Is that pretty accurate then?
Yep. We wanted it to be obviously
very
affordable,
cool.
So we haven't priced it in a way that is, at all burdensome on anyone. But we love the idea of keeping in touch with that, 2-quarter idea of you drop 2 quarters in and you get to play an arcade. So you could probably work out that it'll be something in that vicinity of, playing. So it just gives people that kind of that retro feel, I guess. Like it's as much about rocking up to an arcade and dropping a whole bunch of quarters in that you can get from in a digital sense. We have a NFT marketplace which is coming. We've got a couple of commissioned artists already. We've got an official Meowcoin artist who's done one using the little logo that you can see. So he's got I suppose you call a project endorsed run, which we're really excited about. We're looking at some merchandise to go on there as well. I'm still sort of chatting with how we're going to work that one out, but that's something that we want to do, where we'll have a line of t-shirts or hats that will have, Meowcoin little guy on there, and a QR code on the back that you can scan, and it will show you that's actually NFT merchandise. So that's really cool. We also have a upcoming partnership, which we're just finalising at the moment with one of Australia's largest adoption agencies, which is fantastic. We will be working with them and engaging with them. So that's one part of it. And then the second part of that is there's a small adoption agency in Sydney, which I'm actually meeting for coffee or lunch on Thursday. To talk through how do we actually engage with that technical element of it, which is extremely exciting for us, because that is 100% what our ecosystem was designed for, is to build that sort of tokenization of animals out. So we're really keen for that. And we've obviously got a roadmap which we would look down the track to be implementing things like SegWit and Lightning Network. We know that for our chain to be built on, we want to be as rock solid but as technologically advanced as possible. I believe that would, don't quote me on this, I need to go back and do a bit more research, but I believe it would be the first power to have SegWit, which would be really cool.
Okay.
Lightning as part of that. So we'd be really excited to have that sort of come on board. There is a business that I know a couple of partners that are working on that have decided to put their blockchain solution on Meowcoin, which is great.
Perfect.
So premier.vin, check it out. It's really cool. They're looking at the pre-sale of wine. I know through my connections there that they've got 2 wineries that are interested already in doing what's called pre-sales of wine on through Premier, which would be great, and that will actually use the Meowcoin blockchain itself. And that's sort of where we sort of tap out from a what can we say perspective. We have some really exciting things that we want to try and do, in particular with plugins of Chrome and Brave as browsers. We're looking at that at the moment, but it will just take us a little bit of time. We also do have a big announcement coming Monday US time. I won't say anything because it'll be launching shortly. We'll be really pleased to announce that.
Cool.
NDAs and all that. So yeah, that's where we're up to at the moment.
No, that's awesome. I mean, I think what I have seen, at least from my perspective, and I'm still young in the scene, just over 2 years, is that the most successful projects continue to have use case scenarios. And like you just spent the last 5 minutes naming off all these things coming down the pipeline, which is, I think, awesome. Like it creates use case. And I think there's huge value there. And it also creates that ecosystem. Like it creates the need to mine it. It creates a scenario to buy it. It creates the scenario to sell it. Like, which is, I think, phenomenal. I mean, that is what we need. You'd hate to come out with a coin and it's just completely hoarded, or a coin that's just completely sold. Like you're kind of finding a need for both. And I think that's really, really great. There's a lot of other coins that I think about that are a few years ahead of you that have definitely set the bar, just like you're talking about, for use case, which is, I think, phenomenal and I think is great. And I'll be honest, this has been a lot of fun, Andrew. I have learned a lot. I actually am now like, my gears are turning. I'm like, man, I want to do more stuff like this because I've learned a lot. I'm hoping my audience has learned a lot of just the behind the scenes. Like as a GPU miner, you kind of look past some of this stuff. Your eyes is really focused on like X, Y, and Z, and you're not seeing everything that's come before it. So this was definitely super beneficial. I hope my audience has enjoyed it. Guys, hopefully we'll have Andrew on in the near future. Andrew, thank you very much for joining me. I'll put links directly down below, everybody, to some of the links, some of the projects that he had talked about to provide some insight into them. Make sure you guys go over and check out Meowcoin and check out everything they're doing over there. I'll put links down below. But anyways, if you guys enjoyed the video, give it a thumbs up. And finally, don't forget to subscribe. Take care.